Hi guys, I'm filming a beginner tutorial. Someone who's opening Photoshop for the first time, this is sort of what you're going to encounter. I'm going to open up Adobe Photoshop CS6. That's the one I use. I haven't upgraded to Creative Cloud. When you open it, you'll see something like this, really black, dark background. You have toolbars everywhere, toolbars on the left, on the right, and on top. Start with opening a new canvas. You can open things in pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters. Usually we use pixels. For example, when I make signatures, like forum signatures, it's usually anywhere from 350 to 400 pixels in width, and then the height will be somewhere between 200 and 300. If you want to get an idea of inches, you can just convert. That's about 6.75 inches by 7 inches. You can open things using presets. So there's, for example, under US paper, letter, legal, and tabloid sizes preset for you in inches. Another important thing is resolution. This says 300, that is used for print. So when you're designing a poster or something for print, you want a higher resolution. 300 dpi means that there are 300 pixels in every inch. You'll see if I go down to like a default Photoshop size or a clipboard size or something, the resolution changes to 72 pixels per inch. When you're designing something that's to be used on the computer only, usually 72 pixels per inch is the standard resolution. So that's what it comes with. It's the default. You can leave it. If you're ever using print though, you want to make sure it's 300 pixels per inch. RGB, etc. Okay, so here RGB is the standard default. You'll never really need to deviate. CMYK is good for print. So when you're printing things, this is like true to printer colors. So things are a little less vibrant, but you'll see exactly what your printer would give you if you were printing, if you were designing something for print. But RGB is fine for web use, so let's make a 500 by 500 pixel canvas to start off with. And it's at 72 resolution, RGB color, okay? That's how big it is. If I right click outside here, I can change the background from black to dark gray, medium gray, light gray, or a custom color. So if for example, if I'm designing something for a website, and I know the website's background is a particular hex code, I can set it to that and see exactly what it would look like with that background. This is a disgusting background color. Let's pick a nicer one. Ouch, maybe not that. Okay, well, I'm gonna actually okay. Why mess with what works? I usually use a medium gray, but then when I'm done with something, I'll test it on black and I'll test it on light gray and make sure it looks good in both. Medium gray just hurts least on the eyes to me. Okay, so we have a background layer here. It is locked. You'll see if I try to do anything to it. Oh, it will let me. Just kidding. If I try to move it, which is the move tool right there, it won't because the layer is locked. What you can do to unlock it is you can right click it, you can duplicate it, and you can delete the original. There's probably an easier way, but I'm not aware. You can also, to duplicate things, press Ctrl J, or take it, drag it down to that little post-it note, and that duplicates it as well. Important thing, layers. I didn't even mention that yet. So when you work on Photoshop, everything you do, every effect or every piece of something that you're building usually goes on its own different layer. So we have duplicates. Let me delete those. For example, this was my background. I would make a new layer, click that post-it, and I would type something, and that will be on its own layer. So I can move that around, and if I had another one of those like red brush effects, okay, Okay, so I can move that around because it's on its own layer, you see? And then I can move that text. And they're independent of each other, which is nice. Okay. Right click, you'll see a bunch of different layer options. I'm not going to touch those or explain them yet, but what might help is these are called layer styles? No, what are they called? Layer styles. So you can change these around and each one has a different effect. You'll see this more when you have an actual piece you're working on, but a lot of times you'll change layer styles to add different cool effects. When you're working on Photoshop, when you're making something, your primary tools are your layers tab here with its different layer styles. You can change the opacity of each layer, like so. You can make things more and less opaque. So your layer styles, your layer tab. Down here you'll see this black and white looking cookie. This is adjustment layers. I will have a whole in-depth tutorial for those later, but you'll use these a lot. You will use this to make the new layer, and then this little folder icon, this is used to organize your layers. You can actually create a group. You can title it. For example, if I wanted all my background layers in one place, I can click drag them into that, like that, and then you'll see they're in their own little folder. So like that, there we go, that toggles on and off the entire background because all those layers there will be controlled by the folder. Very useful for organizing things, especially when you've got hundreds of layers or very intricate pieces. The more organized you are, the easier it is to find where the mistake could be or easily edit one portion of something like the background. Okay, so this little toolbar here is also very handy, and we'll go over that in a separate tutorial. But so these are the different tools you have, like the marquee, the move. If you hover, it'll tell you what tool it is. Move tool, for example. Shortcut to it is V. If you see, some of these have little arrow icons on the bottom right corners. That means that when you click and hold, you'll see other options there. So if you click and hold, you'll see the other options within that little icon. So you have the brush, the pencil, everything's within that icon. So up top we have the window here, and that'll help you toggle on and off all the other windows on the right here that you're seeing. So the layers, adjustments, color, you'll see those are all toggled on right now. So layers, adjustments, color. So you can toggle on and off depending on what you're using. Layers you definitely want to keep on. Brushes I usually keep on. That's right here because I'm often using the brushes. The zoom tool down there is very useful as well. Click, drag, it'll zoom in and out. Very nice. It's called scrubby zoom. If you undo it and click, then you can't like click and drag. This will just zoom into a particular part. I don't like that. I like the scrubby zoom because I can just click, drag in and out very efficiently. Okay, so in Photoshop CS6 and upwards, you have different tabs of your projects. So this is one tab. If I opened another new project, right, that would open on its own tab here. So there we go. What I can also do is drag layers from one tab to another tab. What you would do is take this tab, drag it out, and you'll see it's separated. And I can see the layers of that tab. I can click on the layer I want to drag into the main one, and now you'll see if I hide this, that layer has been dragged in here, and I've got it here as well. So you can drag in between, back and forth. Alright, save as, when you're done with something, file, save, Control S, very similar. If you're making GIFs on Photoshop, which you're a beginner, you're probably not making GIFs. If you are, you're going to use the save for web option. You can open things this way as well. If you import something. You can import video frames to layers. That helps with GIF making though, so don't worry about that. What else? Pretty much that's all we're gonna go for the beginning, the basics. Actually, no, one last thing I wanted to go over is the rulers and the guides. So if I press Control R, you'll see that toggles on and off the ruler. Just helpful for measuring things if you're working. Like if I was working on 8.5 by 11 and I wanted to create like a 1/2 inch margin on each side, because that's my printer margin, I can click and drag. See this little line? I can click and drag that. It's called a guide. So I can position them 1/2 inch around the canvas, for example, and I can easily make sure nothing goes past those margins. Okay, what am I doing? Ignore that. That's not what you should be doing. Okay, come back. If you like happen to lose your toolbars like I just did, just press tab until they come back. I don't exactly understand that, but that's what happens sometimes. So let's say I've positioned my rulers to account for that 0.5 margin. I type out my text. I use the move tool and I drag it there and it'll snap to that edge. Let me show you better by zooming in. Press the zoom tool, zoom in right there, and you'll see, like when I'm dragging, it'll snap right to the very edge. See? Right there. Useful. Alright. That was the beginning. That was the basics. That's pretty much all you need to know to at least kind of navigate around Photoshop and know what you're doing. We'll go more in depth as to what all these tools do, all these tools do, and all these tools do in future tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.